this was going to be a news piece, but I decided to put it in the op-eds because I've covered this previously on excessive wages or salaries, and the heiress Abigail Disney spoke out this week and thinks corporate America is being paid too much. Hear, says us all. Now, she's the granddaughter of Roy Disney, co-founder of the Walt Disney Company with brother Walt Disney, and she said CEOs in general are paid far too much, and this was on CNBC's Squawk Box show, and she did refuse to comment on whether she thinks the current Disney CEO Bob Iger is paid too much, but she did say if your CEO salary is 500, 600 or 700 times your median worker's pay, there's nobody on earth worth that. Jesus Christ himself isn't worth 500 times his median worker's pay. Now, on Monday, Iger agreed to a new compensation contract that cut his maximum potential annual pay by $13.5 million. It cut it by $13.5 million. He was awarded $65.6 million in the last fiscal year, and the result of a pay bump for extending his tenure at Disney through 2021, and stock awards in excess of a further $35 million. And this year, however, the company eliminated a $500,000 boost to his base salary. Like, that makes much of a difference to $65.6 million, $500,000. Woo! Keeping it at $3 million, another bonus. It also cut his potential cash bonus from $20 million down to $12 and reduced his long-term pay incentive from $25 to $20 million. Now, Disney has long been a proponent for lowering executive paychecks and taxing the rich more, it said, and the problem is that there's a systematic favouring of people who have accumulated enormous amounts of wealth, she said. Disney signed on to a letter with about 200 other millionaires living in New York last month, asking lawmakers to introduce a millionaire's tax on households earning more than $5 million a year to help fund affordable housing, infrastructure and other initiatives. Sounds good to me. Now, like I said, the reason I put this op-ed piece in is because I've covered this recently, the issues of this and excessive earnings, and there is two problems with this. Is Abigail Disney, along with Alexandra Cortez, now promoting higher taxes on the rich for the benefit of the people, or is this a backdoor sneaky attempt to keep the corrupt IRS going? The reason I say that is they'll get people to vote for higher taxes on the rich, is then the people voting to consent to continue the IRS, is it not? This is how they work, you see. Most people they know will go, yes, let's tax the rich far more. But that's keeping the old system, not the new one, which doesn't include the IRS. See how they work? We have a proper revenue service body that's been defunct since the 30s. That needs to be opened back up. The IRS has nothing to do with America, it never was. But this is how these people play the game. So Abigail Disney is correct in most of what she says, but I just wonder, is this a backdoor attempt to keep the old corrupt IRS going, where they'll throw a bit more into the pot, but the rest of the money is not going to the people, it's going to the Rothschilds. That's how they work. Now, the issues of higher earnings has to be addressed, as I've said. I don't think personally anybody needs to earn over $250,000 a year, never mind $65 million. You know, it's beyond evil to me, those levels of earnings. But let's look at the figures. If Disney paid a worker $20 an hour and they worked a 35-hour week, Bob Iger's salary would cover 1,802 people's yearly salary. 1,800. Now, Disney hours are 40, and most of them are paid $9 or $10 an hour. That equals to 3,153 people's yearly salary for just one CEO. 3,153 people working a whole year earning the same as one CEO. You know, how does what is generally an overweight lard arse equate to earning the same amount of money as 3,153 people working 40 hours a week for a whole year? Because I guarantee Mr. Iger doesn't do 40 hours. Probably doesn't do 40 hours a month, never mind a week. Or how does $65.6 million a year equate to the 6.5 million people of Haiti who are earning $2 an hour? Now, some of these salaries, you know, they're inflated so they get round the corporate tax structure. That's what they do. They divvy it all up in bonuses to get round the corporate tax structure. But if the corporate tax structure itself was clean and transparent and fair, there's no need for these levels of earnings. And this is why I set up the People's Club earning structure as a proposal for those who are funded. As I don't believe anyone in any company should be earning more than 5 times the lowest salary. There's no need for it. It's beyond obscene, and it creates haves and have-nots. And for those who like to pry and make comparisons, my salary for the People's Club when it starts, it hasn't yet, was set at $50,000 a year. You see, need, not greed. Not $500,000 a year or $4.5 million like some of the charities. There's no need for it. There's a couple of sobering statements. If you have food in your fridge, you've got clothes on your back, a roof over your head, and a place to sleep, you are richer than 75% of the world. Think about that. If you have money in the bank, any amount, money in your wallet, any amount, it can be 1 cent, or some loose change lying around the house, you are in the top 8% of the world's wealthy. It's all about perspective, isn't it? And something we often forget when waiting for the $1 million payouts and fake RVs or GCRs or Nasara. We are actually richer than most in the Western world. And whilst many of us are struggling in some way, it pales into insignificance compared to some of the levels people around the world are enduring. Haiti, $2 an hour, 6.5 million people earning $2 an hour or less. And then you get these excessive CEO salaries, $65.5 million a year. Some people don't earn that in 2 or 3 lifetimes. And we have to end it. Because if you're going to create a civilized society where all people prosper, not just a few, those levels of wages have to drop considerably. And I would like to see all companies operating 5 times the lowest salary, the top earner. That's it. Everything else is just greed. What are you going to do? Buy 2 cars or 3 cars instead of 2? It's waste. And it keeps the debt cycle going, and then it creates division, haves and have-nots. People feel insecure because or lower value because their car is 10 years old, and then next door's buying one every 12 months. It's not good.